Another win, now 16 straight for the UConn men after tonight's win over Providence. We'll recap. It's the most since the early 90s. This is Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UconnHuskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday and welcome to tonight's post-game edition of Locked On UConn. I am Matt Schonvisky, a two-time graduate, tenure-credentialed media member, and host of the only daily UConn sports podcast, Locked On UConn, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and thank you for making this your first listen each and every single day. On tonight's show, we will recap the win earlier tonight against Providence. Then the bench stepped up. We'll talk about who was a key in tonight's win. And finally, Terrace Reed and Solo Ball led the way scoring-wise. One was efficient, one was a volume shooter. We'll just recap their performance, talk about what we should see going forward. But first, let's just recap the game. As UConn won 87-81, improving to 10-0 in the Big East. 20-1 overall. And Dan Hurley talked about this post-game. I've talked about areas to improve nonstop going back to New Year's Eve because I'm not completely satisfied with how the team is performing and how they've shown in these games start to finish and how we have not had a full 40-minute performance. And I walk away from yet another win wanting more. And Hurley post-game talked about he doesn't think he's ever seen as much consternation in a season with a team than one that is 20-1. But we will continue to talk about what we are concerned about, what we see as a flag of something that could potentially rear its ugly head down the line in a one-and-done scenario during tournament time. Because the issues that are popping up, the way games are going and playing out, it's a concern to me. It's a concern to the fan base. I'm hearing it. I'm seeing it on social media. Dan Hurley sees it as well. Dan Hurley's frustrated with the way some of these games play out. But the thing is, despite all of it, the thing that matters is the scoreboard. The thing that matters is the win column. The thing that matters is UConn is 20-1. A lot of teams are not 20-1. Providence is now 9-12. Providence is now 2-8 in the Big East. Providence is going nowhere near an NCAA tournament appearance this season. Heck, they may not even make the NIT or any of these other postseason tournaments. They may decline an invitation, as that is all the rage these days. But what is happening at UConn? 20-1, 10-0 Big East. Should we really be complaining? Complaining, no. Calling out some of the things that are bothersome or worrisome or concerning are absolutely on the table. But take a step back and know that everything that we're going to lay out is going to help prepare this team to compete in a one-and-done situation. Because they've been there, done that, have gone through these battles. And we all know the Big East is going to be a battle each and every single night. Despite what the records are, despite what the out-of-conference performances are, despite what the perception is of some of these teams, both here regionally and on the national stage, the Big East is always going to be competitive. That's something that maybe I've glossed over the last couple of weeks. But if I think back to when UConn finished up conference play, was it the win over Florida? I believe was the one that wrapped up conference play. I said at that time we were turning the table. And this is a stretch that's really going to tell where this team is at, because the coaches that are going up against the Huskies over the last 3 years have played UConn at least twice each season. Some have played 3 times with Big East tournament matchups. So they know the tendencies of the Huskies. They know what Coach Hurley likes to do. They know how UConn runs their offense. Does Hurley continue to adjust and learn during the offseason? Of course. He's talked about watching EuroLeague and pulling certain plays and sets from those games to bring and add to the portfolio of what he likes to run here with UConn and what's going to put his players in the best position to be successful. But some of the stuff that UConn runs, obviously, they've run in the past. And the coaches that they're going up against have seen it over and over and over again in conference play. It's just what happens. So, yes, these games are going to be more competitive than not because of the familiarity, because of the experience that these opponents have had against UConn. Now, what can they address? Well, how about going up 29-19 by 10 points, double digits, and not quickly letting them go on a 9-0 run in response? I know that's frustrating for Dan Hurley. I saw him sitting on the sideline, hand in his head. After Providence was able to cut into that lead. He was visibly frustrated. The fan base was visibly frustrated. I've got some comments on the Gampel crowd, too, because I know I was not at the game last night. I will say that. I wasn't able to make it to Gampel last night. Tonight, excuse me. But the thing that UConn fans were talking about is the lower bowl has become basically corporate hangout where UConn's trying to find money in the current situations. They're trying to put in luxury spaces to bring in more money to the university. It's pushing some of the traditional fans up away from the court and potentially impacting the environment at Gampel. Now, again, I wasn't there tonight, so I've got to preface that. But to me, the Hartford crowds have been better than the Gampel crowds all season. It's just going to be a continued thing that's going to happen this year, and we'll see if it gets readdressed down the line. But the environment at Gampel is not what, on TV at least tonight, it didn't come across as the typical Gampel crowd. And it's something that I've noticed, and I've seen people talk about it as well throughout the season. The environment has not been the same. So let's see how things get addressed here moving forward, because Gampel used to be a top environment in college basketball. And I don't think this school and this university and this program wants to lose that. We should not lose that. And that energy that the fan base and the student body has historically brought is something that's unmatched, or matched only by maybe a handful of other arenas across college basketball. Because you used to have to come into Gampel, and already you were behind the 8 ball. Already pregame warm-ups, 90 minutes before games, 75 minutes before games. I forget when they used to open the doors. But there was lines and lines and lines of students waiting to get in each and every single game. And then we know the lottery situation happened where student tickets went from, hey, you're no longer camping out for tickets, to we're going to make it fair because some students didn't want to, if my parents are listening, skip classes to wait in line for basketball tickets. So that changes who's going to actually get the tickets. The ones that are going to camp out, I'm talking students only here, the ones that are going to camp out and the ones that traditionally camped out are the ones that want the tickets. They're going to be the most energetic and passionate. They're going to be the ones that attend every single game. So when I became a senior, that's when the whole wristband thing came in, where you needed to pick a wristband to get a season ticket as a student. And luckily, I was behind Dale, or I was going around the same time Dale went, and all our friends looked at each other and said, hey, well, Dale's going to be getting tickets. And if you don't know who Dale is the blue-white kid. Half blue, half white, still does it. Every football road game, he's still there. But he's front row for 3 years during my time at UConn. Go in my senior year, here comes hey, you got to go get a colored wristband, and it's going to be basically a lottery because you pick the color, and we're going to pick colors out of a little bin, and whoever gets the right color is going to get season tickets. It was ridiculous. But we knew that whatever line Dale went in, and we timed it perfectly because we did not want to lose tickets for our senior year. I'm somebody that went to Madison Square Garden every single spring break for the Big East tournament. So we did not want to lose season tickets going into our senior year. But a lot of people did. And a lot of people that got season tickets and maybe kept them for 2 games. And the rest, well, basketball wasn't really a priority to attend, so maybe they'll sell them. Maybe they did sell them. Maybe they didn't sell them. And to me, that was the start of the turning point of the crowd and the energy and the experience at Gampel Pavilion. Because the moment you start to push out and make it harder for somebody that absolutely wants season tickets and turn it into a situation where maybe the most diehard fans aren't getting tickets or aren't getting access. Now, can they get access on the secondary market? Of course. But that, in and of itself, that decision heading into the 06-07 season started to change the environment at Gampel. It was noticeable. No longer were, so if you were, I'm wrapping this up, but if you're going to games, at Gampel, lower bowl, upper bowl student section, and then the 3 sections across, or 4 or 5 sections across on the other side, up top. We're always, for Big East games, completely jammed. Last night, there's a whole section missing on the opposite side. Now, I know behind where there's students down below and then above, there was this portion of spots in the student section set aside for student athletes because they were going to get honored last night. I know that was the case there. But on the other side, you saw an entire section that was not full, and that's reserved for students. That did not show up. Now, was it snowing a little bit again last night? Yes. Were classes canceled? Yes. So maybe less students that have tickets were on campus. But the fact of the matter remains, those that have tickets back in the day were jamming into Gampel Pavilion. There was a blizzard. The first night game day ever came to UConn. UConn hosted Pitt. An absolute blizzard. And the school asked the ticket holders that, hey, if you can't make it up to stores, let us know, and we are going to give your tickets or sell your tickets to students that don't have tickets. And that night, Gampel has never been louder. The environment, the entire arena was on its feet because there were so many additional students in that building that got season ticket holder seats, first level, sideline, all the way up and around. It was jam-packed with students. And the environment, start to finish, was insanity. Now, UConn coughed up a double-digit lead and lost that night. But that's what the student body helps bring to the table. So That's where things started. We'll talk more as we move forward because we got to move on here about what UConn could do to improve the environment at UConn. We've got ideas, obviously. But right now, in the situation we're at, UConn needs the money. So they're going to go corporate. The first level of Gampel is now corporate, the center of corporates. And UConn is driving that money because they need it. If we want to have teams that go 20-1, it's the balance we have to have in the situation we're in. So, on the other side, we are going to continue to talk about tonight's win over Providence. And we're going to talk about the bench. Who stepped up? How did they step up? What did they produce? We'll talk about that after the break. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. We're going to talk about him in the final segment, but Solo Ball, for instance, finished second in scoring, but his shooting night wasn't the best. However, he did deliver when required. Performance like Solo Ball reminds us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit mentality. Especially something like Solo Ball had earlier tonight. Shooting wasn't going great, but he didn't give up. He continued to shoot, and he continued to produce, especially down the stretch. We put that same passion into every model at Mazda. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. There's more to these players as well that you see each and every single day. Just like there's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Back in on this post-game edition of Locked On UConn, and we're switching gears to talk about the bench in tonight's game because they provided and they produced. And in the absence of Braylon Mullins, somebody was going to have to step up. Especially on a night where Alex Caravan went 3 of 14. So somebody else was going to have to produce. In comes who I did not expect, Malachi Smith and Eric Riba reintroducing himself to their UConn fan base. His best game since early season when Terrace was out. Both those guys completely stepped up. Malachi Smith, who I've been, just as a fan, I haven't said it on this show, but I've really been looking at his performance of late and, hey, what do you really bring to the table? Is it time to consider maybe removing Malachi Smith from the rotation? And then we get a performance like last night. 4 of 4 from 3. I don't think he's made 4 threes on the year. And he goes 4 of 4 last night. Puts in 12 points. 7 assists. Where has this been? And if we get a performance like this from Malachi Smith off the bench, oh, goodness gracious. Even if you don't have a Braylon Mullins, and you're bringing in another guard for extended time, 30 minutes, like I said, 12 points, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 rebound, 1 block. Every stat, filling it up. So Smith is a guy that came in, and a lot was expected of him early on. Heading into the season, I think fan base expected him to be somebody that's going to produce substantially for this team and maybe compete for a starting spot, especially early on in the season. And then it was clear that, hey, he's definitely going to be a bench guy, maybe 6 man. And then as the season went on and we saw the development of some of the rest of the team, he really didn't get a lot of run here. But just like we talked about in that break, in that Mazda spot, did he give up? No. His last 4 games before last night, he's played 13 minutes, 8 minutes, 13 minutes, 6 minutes. And then last night, he gets 30 minutes. And what does he do with that opportunity? Goes 4 threes. Huge. 2 in the early going. He had back-to-back threes early on, and that was something that really sparked this team to get on that run and get that 10-point lead that I talked about, 29-19. So he was huge. Also huge was Eric Riba. With Terrace Reed in a little bit of foul trouble, Riba got 21 minutes. And what did he do? 6 of 6 from the field. 6 of 6. He didn't miss a shot. 14 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, impactful, 1 steal. So you get production offensively, and then on the glass, you're cleaning up. You're playing well defensively. You get 2 blocks and a steal. Those are impact plays. Impact possessions help turn games. And that's what UConn got from their bench. Jaden Ross only played 14 minutes. He came in and did a little bit defensively, got 1 steal, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Wasn't his best night, I would say. But the bench, Riba, Smith, without them last night, UConn's not winning. The spark, the energy, the consistency, the production. Listen, UConn gets this from their bench because if you recall, there's been games UConn got outscored and only produced 2 points on the bench. I think Jalen Stewart one game only had 2 points. He got outscored 40-2 on the bench. If UConn gets this type of production, especially when guys go down and need to step in, or somebody gets in foul trouble and Riba steps in for 21 minutes and 14 points, 8 rebounds, doesn't miss a shot. Oh, good luck, opponents, I will say, as we go forward. So that was a huge positive coming out of tonight's win. The bench. Specifically, Malachi Smith, Eric Riba. We don't need that every night. If you get some of that every night, this team is going to continue on the winning way. So this was a very big development for this team as we move forward, especially with Braylon Mullins' uncertainty. We'll see. He was on the bench last night. But in our last segment, we're going to switch to Terrace Reed and Solo Ball as they led the way scoring-wise last night. We'll talk about that after the break. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Live in Connecticut, work in Massachusetts, they will have you covered. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver. It gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. That's TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Back in on this final segment of Locked On UConn, and we are talking Huskies production tonight. So Terrace Reed and Solo Ball led the way scoring-wise for UConn. One was very efficient. And we'll start with Terrace Reed because he led the way scoring-wise. 19 points, 8 of 9 from the field, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 4 blocks. Impactful. So if you look at where did UConn get their points tonight? In the paint. In and around the rim. And he could have had so much more. So between Reed and Riba, you got 33 points. Reed, like I said, led the way with 19. Was also in foul trouble. So only played 19 minutes. Riba outplayed him. Riba played 21. Reed played the other 19. So not even half the game, Reed's putting in 19 points. So you can see, hey, because UConn was struggling to shoot, we'll get to that in a sec. The block. It's where they went. Penetration, dump it down, feed the post, let them go to work. That's where UConn was really getting their points tonight. So 14 of 15 from the field between those two. And Reed could have had more. He only went 3 of 9 from the field or from the free throw line. Huskies only shot 64%, missed 10 shots on the night, but 6 of those were from Terrace Reed. So he lived at the line as well, but only got 3 points out of that. So as UConn has in the past, when shots aren't falling, when you aren't hitting, when your volume shooters are not putting in shots, where are you going to go? And the way this roster was built, the way Dan Hurley put this team together, the way he recruited, they don't just live and die by the three. Now, overall, UConn went 46% for three. They were 11 and 24 on the night. However, between Caravan and Solo Ball, you were 4 of 15, under 33%. Solo was at 20%. He was 2 of 10. We'll get to him in a sec. But Reed and Riba's performance. Reed in particular. If the shots aren't falling and they need to find a different way to put points on the board, they can easily just go down low. Use the block, use the post, and play a little bit of different style of offensive basketball. So Reed led the way. Solo Ball. Second on the team with points, 17 points. I know he only went 5 of 18. I know he only shot 2 of 10. I know he got 5 of his shots or his points from the line. 5 of 5. Perfect on the night. I still like him putting up as many shots as he did. He put up 18 points and only scored 17. Excuse me. He put up 18 shots and only scored 17. Not the most efficient night, but I'm okay with that because somebody needs to step in from a shot selection standpoint with Braylon Mullins out. And I really didn't see that Solo was forcing shots. And we know that he could go on runs. Just like AZ on the women's side. We talked about it before. Gino's talked about that. AZ can fill it up. She can have long stretches where she's not performing. But then, hey, we're not going to tell her to stop shooting because she's going to go on one of these runs. The same thing I see with Solo. Keep shooting. I don't want that mindset to change because I need that aggressiveness from him because UConn is better offensively if Solo's being aggressive, even if those shots aren't falling. Don't force it, but still look for your shot. Don't shy away. Especially, probably, likely, speculation, I'm guessing, Braylon Mullins will not be available at Creighton. We need to see somebody like Solo really look for their shot. And that's what I think we're going to see going forward from him. Because going back to even the Georgetown game, in the prior games, the Villanova game, that's the game I was thinking about. Going back to the Villanova game, he can go on runs. He can lead the way. And with Braylon Mullins not here right now, short period of time likely, I need to see that continue. That's what I want to see, at least me. I think it's the best for the team if he's leading the way with the most amount of shots on the night. And then you also have Silas Demery. Efficient. 15 points on 6 shots. So you go from Solo had 17 points on 18 shots. Demery had 15 on 6 shots. 6 of 8 from the line. So he did also produce at the line. Missed 2. We got 6 of those points from the free throw line. He played 33 minutes. Also had 4 fouls. But the Huskies come out victorious. So, concerns coming out of this one. Early on, I felt Providence was getting some of those offensive rebounds again, but UConn did out-rebound the Friars, 37-35. So I'm not too concerned about the rebounding. The lack of scoring and the stretches that they've gone on, the going up by double digits and letting teams back in, it's a continued theme that we're seeing. They're just going to have to continue to play their way through it. It is late January. This could be, unless we start seeing improvement here, this could be just the way things are going to play out here this season. But most importantly, what's the key takeaway? UConn was in another close game. And UConn won another close game. So that mentality, that mindset that was around here early on when in Hurley's career where, hey, he doesn't win close games, it's out the door. We know that. We know that. That was even a thing even after his first championship run here 3 years ago, right? Well, every win was a blowout, so we don't know if Dan Hurley can win close games. Well, the next year we found out Dan Hurley can win close games. And now we are absolutely finding out Dan Hurley can win close games. So if there was any question out there, put it to bed. UConn, the experience, the leadership, we talked about it from a player standpoint with Caravan, from a coaching staff standpoint with Hurley and his staff. UConn's going to be in every game. UConn's going to be close to every game. UConn's probably going to be leading every game. And rest assured, this team knows how to win those close games. So, yes, we've been sounding the alarm with some of the concerns. But at the end of the day, I want to close with this. At the end of the day, UConn has now won 16 straight. They're 20-1 on the year, 10-0 in the Big East. Most consecutive wins since 93-94. Things are not bad. That's my key takeaway on tonight's postgame. So, with that, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On UConn. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And for a second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, hosted by Peter Bukowski, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. As always, go Huskies!